Hello, sir.
How are you?
I'm Mike. What's your name?
Shahed.
Shahed. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Too. Nice to meet you too. How are you?
Very good.
You have a question here.
Yeah.
I have this question from you. What do you think?
What do I think? I'm mainly here to just listen to what people have to say. I want to hear what you think and like, what's your opinion? But if you want, I can tell you what I think.
No. Just I wanna ask from you about this question.
Sounds good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's a God. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Because God finds us. When you pay attention to our physiologic body, they make everything here. Like our eyes, our brain, our mouth, our tongue, our heart, our stomach, our liver.
Yeah.
They make this.
What do you think?
Our blood, yeah, everything. Who make this? Just God or Allah make this. The human not able to make a person, to make a human. That is why we have to believe God is here.
Yeah. Would you like to have a seat? Talk a little more.
Thank you so much. Just I like this question. It is a good question that I just explained. When the human pay attention to their body, physiological body,
Yeah.
then we will realize there is someone to find us to make this.
Yeah.
That like a human not able to make a person.
It's very like intricate. It's very complex.
Very complex.
Yeah.
Like I'm a doctor.
Okay.
Just brain have billion cells. That's brain.
Okay.
It's very complicated. Who make this? Who control this? Yeah. Thank you so much. Appreciate
For sure.
it. Oh yeah.
You have to go.
Yeah. I have a
Sounds
study
good.
today.
Thank you.
Yeah. Today I have a exam. Take exam.
Oh yeah.
Just pray for me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Hello. Interested?
There is God.
Would you like to sit down, have a conversation?
Yeah, I may have a conversation.
What's your name?
I'm Yuri.
Yuri. Mikey. Is that a Slavic name?
Yeah.
Sweet. I'm Slavic too. So
Okay.
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Why do you say there is a God?
In the Bible, it says that God created each of us in His own image
Yeah.
for us to serve Him. So,
What makes you convinced that what the Bible says is true? What makes you believe in the Bible?
well, it says like we fall into sins, which is true. So, and like to not to fall into sins, it like tells how not to do them.
Mm-hmm.
So like, and it's like it's a proof that God is actually real and is there. So and like Jesus died for us on the cross for making it easier for us to believe in God through Jesus Christ. So
And you say you believe in Jesus Christ?
yeah,
Why? Why do you believe in that?
because He died for our sins, cleaning our blood for us, not to go and sacrifice the lamb and putting on top of the door.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah. I'm a Christian myself also, so it's really cool to see other Christians here on this campus. I appreciate you coming here, Yuri.
Yeah,
So I'm recording this on a camera.
yeah, I noticed.
Yeah, good. And there might be some people watching that don't believe in God. What would you, because they're going to be, they might be watching this. What would you want to say to them? What would you want to say to them?
try reading the Bible, give it a shot. It's like, see if it's like worth it. I would say it's worth it.
Sweet. Well, I really love your boldness. I hope you keep that up. You're just like, yes, there is. There is. That's really cool.
Okay, it was nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you, Yuri.
Okay.
Have a nice day.
You too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Want to take a seat?
Sure. Take a
Sweet.
guy. Yeah.
What's your name?
Sig.
Sig. I'm Mikey.
Mikey.
Nice
Birth
to meet
name
you.
Israel. Take
Israel.
your pick, yeah.
Okay. Sweet. What made you go with Sig?
It's just felt fitting. It came from like a middle school thing where I was like getting into like Viking stuff and figuring out, looking at the old Norse language, like what would my Viking name be? And Sig means victory, and Sigvisir, and got that together, and that means victory through cunning or victory through thinking.
Okay.
That's a good way to try and be.
Okay. So what do you think to the premise? What do you
Is there a God?
Yes. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big elephant in the room about that question is that everybody's been really concerned about that, struggling over that question for probably as long as humans have experienced. Well, it's not just self-awareness, but beyond self-awareness, but like awareness of this world. You know, you could say evolutionary standpoint. Once we got to the point where human brain was able to do that.
Yeah.
That we were all of a sudden like, what made this? And then even bigger question, what's the point?
Yeah.
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 That's what first comes to mind is like, yeah, this is a question that's always constantly bothering people. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Think so, yeah.
what's your take?
My take is that God, just like how this world that we know scientifically, this tree is connected to the oxygen up in the air and the sun, and then its roots are connected to underground and the nutrients in the ground, and then everything connects to that tree. That just like how the natural world is so very interconnected, that this God, I'm not just going to say that there isn't one. I'm going to say that that God is a part of ourselves.
Okay.
That we're a part of God. That we're God in disguise and we just don't know it. And we're subjectively experiencing ourselves. And that me and you, us and that guy, us and her, everybody, we're filtered into these bodies and these conscious experiences, but our souls all eventually come as one. Like the whole we're all one thing, but not woo-woo but like actually the concepts behind it. And yeah.
Okay. So would you say like right now we're separated, but we're like in reality we're all God, like in that sense?
Yeah, we eventually go up to and we would culminate in the Godhead.
Okay.
That we all culminate into God is a good way to put it. But I'm also not going to claim that I understand, because all I'm trying to use to understand this is the fleshy organ in here.
Okay.
That all it is what used to just be a cluster of cells. And the brain it's just an organ just like the heart and everything. It's not this transcendent immaterial thing that we're using. We're still using meat to think this way.
Yeah.
But our soul, our embodied self, you hear about in Hinduism and Buddhism, the embodied self that we are, that's pretty much without ego. It's without a lot of conscious labels and boundaries and the rule sets that we put. It's like pure faith, you could say. That's a new way I've started to put it. It is what we are. It is outside of this, but we're in this, I'm not going to say matrix, we're in this world.
Okay.
That in these flesh prisons and all this stuff that we have to use these tools to function in this world till we're dead.
Okay. What would you say is your definition of God?
Right? I mean, I wouldn't want to give too much of a if you were to look in the mirror and consider what you saw in the mirror to be your father.
Okay. That would be your definition of God?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you were to look at God, you'd be looking in the mirror, but you'd be looking at somebody in the mirror who, you know, it's a reflection of yourself, but it's still somebody that you're considering God.
Okay.
Because this God figure, and just like you and me and everything, we're so interconnected that it's like, let's say that you're looking at God, or I'm looking at you, or I'm looking at another person, or anything like that, and we're looking at each other, and like, let's say you're like, that's like 20, 30 feet away. We don't know that like our feet are underground, our roots, and we're connecting to each other, and we think we're somebody else.
Okay.
But we're connected.
Okay.
But because of perspective, we can't see that connection because of this world. We're put in these boundaries because of whatever the this world is for. That's my question.
Yeah.
What is this about?
Okay. And just to be clear, there's like in like true reality, there's not anything outside of God. It's just like God itself, himself, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing outside of that, right?
Yeah, maybe.
You'd say so?
Maybe. Or
Not sure.
maybe there is. Maybe.
Okay, you know.
Just like how, as a son, if you've had a good like parent experience or something, like if you had parents and stuff, and a lot of people can't relate to this, especially where we're at right now living, a lot of people, single parents and stuff like that. But if you grew up as when you were like little, right, like little 6 or 7, your parent, your dad, you thought he was like all powerful, sort of God, you know?
Okay.
And when you grow up and you realize, oh, he's just a man like I am. But the point is that maybe we're in that child stage and God's raising us, and there'll be a certain point, this kind of says that there's linear time to this, but a certain point that we would grow up to the same level as him and move on and be our own God, sort of thing. I know some people believe that. I think I heard Mormons told me they believe in that. But yeah, that like you advance and grow up to lose that, who we think is God is everything all powerful and all that. We believe that's because we're adolescents that need the security in that father figure who's looking after us, you could say. That's a way, but that's personifying God into a make sensible figure, and also a patriarchal male make sensible figure, which those are objects that we have experienced and created societally in this world. That's all earthly.
Okay.
To see God as a large bearded man, patriarchal father figure, it's earthly. Yeah, it's an earthly thing.
So do you think you might have an idea of why, or do you have no idea why we're in this kind of illusion state, and why we're not just like in our normal state?
I think,
or do you have any ideas?
I mean, the idea is that, I don't know, I think we came here in an amnesic, I think that we existed before we came here as spirits, and gosh knows if we were in any other plane of existence like this before. And there's the reincarnation cycle that people have claimed actual experience of, and something that the Hindus believed very well, something that the Germanic pagans believed very well. And animists, druids, they all believed in reincarnation. They must have done that for a reason. And people explain so many past life experiences. But it's like when we come here on this earth, we seem to be like in an amnesic state.
How so?
Because we can't remember before this.
Okay.
Right? So it's really trippy. I feel like we're going to have to settle for the fact that we don't get the answers until we're dead. Okay. I think death liberates us and takes us back to the answers out of this, you know. But I think, yeah, I won't delve into that, but yeah.
So you said like you used Hindus and Buddhists as like kind of backups for what you think is like true reality. Do you think? Why do you think they might have like a grasp of what the afterlife is truly like?
I think every religion has a grasp of things. Some have, I believe, more earthly intentions than others, and I think Buddhists and Hindus to some extent have done a good concerted effort, just logically from what I've observed, have had a good concerted effort to be rational and truthful in the pursuit of theological means and of otherworldly things.
Okay.
While other religions may be more about being a governing earthly power that keeps people in a certain way that functions.
Which ones would you say are like the
Catholicism, Islam, lots of Christianity, They essentially, I feel like the reason why they consider their religions to be holy comes from a cult-like following to a figure like Jesus Christ or Muhammad. And then they use that adoration and idolatry of those figures to justify believing in what simply is, and they can be great rules. Says the Bible's got a lot of good stuff in it. It's got a lot of bad shit in it too, though. Jesus was pretty cool as a guy, but he's also been hypocritical. But there's a cult-like following, just like there was a cult-like following for a celebrity or what Charles Manson was starting to do.
Okay.
And people they're falling under that when they believe in those religions, and it's their community. If they came from a good religious community, then all of a sudden they believe it's the best thing in the world. But if you're somebody who was Christian, who came from a bad community and had a bad experience with it, then you start to become, it loses the illusion of it being the best thing ever, because you realize where it has objectively been wrong with things, and you get divorced from it in a way that allows you to stand on your own and see things more in an isolated, more objective, individual way.
Okay.
Instead of being influenced by the thoughts and the energy of your church and your pastor every week or more. And because I've been there, and you feel if it's a good church, good worship and all that, then you're feeling positive energy, and you think that, oh, that means this is the right thing, and you hopefully that's not my car, and you think you get the positive energy from that, because that's real. Because if it's a good church session, good people that are loving it, then that's great. But you might start to discount your own judgment and your own thoughts and your own individual relationship with God and spirituality, and just start following your religion because it's been a positive effect to you, and you stop free thinking.
How would you say that the reason for the creation of these different religions, like you say Islam and Christianity, if their origins are seemingly rooted in like a grasp of power, why do you think that means they are objectively less to represent true reality? Could they not have been started, like it kind of seems like you say maybe at the beginning they seem to be good, but then they kind of get corrupted later on?
At the beginning, Christianity, like with what Christ was doing for the majority, seemed like he was trying to do some really solid stuff. But then I think, you make art, you make something beautiful, and then if you're gone, it's put in other people's hands, and it's put back into the turbulent chaos of this world, which is what it is, and it will never change. But so it can change from the original intentions. Gosh, that's such a huge thing with everything, right?
Okay.
I mean, McDonald's original intentions, it was healthy, and then boom, that got turned into a mess. And things, as an example.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you said Jesus, you think he did some pretty cool things. What do you think his main? Because like Buddhism and Hinduism, they still have their separate ideas.
Yeah, he might have went there.
Yeah. What do you think his main points were when he was when he was? You believe he was teaching stuff, right?
Gosh, yeah, I think he really understood. What do you even call that, man? What do you even call that? Not like the right thing to do. I mean, you could say he understood what the right thing to do was, but that doesn't do justice to how he understood a lot about. He knew how to detach from this world and worldly things. He knew how to. I mean, a lot of aesthetic and enlightened stuff has to do with being able to see past while embracing your shadow, which that goes into psychology, and that's a psychodynamic concept. Your shadow self, your negative side, because he didn't completely relinquish it; he embraced it. I know that Jesus whipped those merchants that were fucking around.
Yeah,
and he flipped over those tables, and the Bible speaks of some pretty metal heavy shit. It's not a pacifistic.
Yeah.
Ecclesiastes is a time for love and a time for hate. time for war, peaceful change. I know that from a song, not the Bible, so maybe that was a bit paraphrased.
Okay.
But there's a time for all of it. That's Christian, but that's very Taoist, very Buddhist, very Hinduist.
Okay.
I believe in, and this is get away from the question of is there God?
Sure.
But I mean, I believe in, and I hope to try and influence with my music in this. That's what I want to do.
Oh,
is
interesting.
have my music. But I believe in embracing your shadow. We don't need to be afraid of the negative sides of ourselves, of the terrible things that happen in this world, because the only thing that's telling us that it's terrible is our evolutionary psychology in terms of avoiding fear and avoiding unhealthy things, disgust and fear towards these things. It's primitive things. But we're at a time now where we're not living day by day trying to eat, living in homes made of grass, and so we don't have to do that anymore. But we might end up back there if we're not able to kick it. You know what I mean by kick it? If we're not able to kick that fear response to everything. And the Industrial Revolution and all the terrible, and the pesticides and all the mistakes that we made the last 2 centuries once we got our hands on something we didn't know how to handle in terms of technological power. All of that is because we were thinking in this fear response that we still have that was left over from us being part of the animal kingdom and trying to survive.
I see.
But we don't need it anymore.
You said this like we should embrace this shadow side of us. I'm not familiar with this concept.
Yeah.
What could you describe it?
So this was started by a psychologist, psychoanalyst named Sigmund Freud. And he's pretty controversial, and he was wrong about a lot of stuff. But hey, I mean, he's a fallible human being, but he might have also been like a bad dude, but whatever. And hey, my whole thing is so what? Okay, should still be understood. And then what really happened is that there is a disciple of his and a collaborative psychologist, Carl Jung, and he developed Jungian psychology, and these are all concepts. He didn't find biological things in our brain. He analyzed and discovered and made concepts that seemed to be very fruitful.
Okay.
But Sigmund Freud originally, he developed the id, the ego, the superego, etc. And these are concepts and structures that we have in our mentality, in the human mentality, where your id is your it's your primal desires. It's keeping yourself fed and satisfied. That's it. No higher being. It's like if we were apes, we would be like animals. They have an id, pretty much, and maybe some portions of an ego. An ego is our identity, and it's pretty much our identity of ourselves.
Okay.
I'm not a professional on this. I'm a student on it with my own mistakes in what I'm saying, but I'm sure I grasp the concepts pretty well. The superego is going to be your overall rules, morals, and a government can give you that, but a religion can just as much give you that, and that religion is not above that government when it comes to those laws that it gives you. When you look at it, the 10 Commandments, that's a superego. Those are not Moses or somebody wrote that down. It's said that they embellish and say that, it came from God, so people really believe in it because these are rules that they really wanted people to buy. That's my theory on it. The 10 Commandments, and a lot of them it's pretty good. But to say that you're going to literally cosmically out of body of this world when you die receive repercussions in hell for not following it is wrong.
How so? Why do you think that's wrong?
Because you're giving somebody earthly rules like the 10 Commandments, which could be just as much a guidelines in a company about how to behave. Any society, it could just be societal guidelines is what that was. And you're giving people that, and you're going to judge them if they make mistakes on it and if they don't believe it, because you're making up that it came from a higher power that said those things, that wrote down the 10 Commandments when it was written down, and the Bible is written down. Human people, human hands, and majority it's men's hands, and particularly usually old men's hands that are writing those words down, and it's not we're not seeing a portal open up in the sky with a hand coming down with the pre-written documents of the 10 Commandments in the Bible. So there is no evidence, there is no scientific objective evidence that it is something, it is knowledge from out of this world. And I believe we can start to find that more now, but not then. We couldn't. This is all humankind's written down guidelines, and the Roman Catholic Church, Rome, etc., Sharia law, and Islam, they all wanted people to believe that it was. So these government officials, religious government officials, could control that population for their own means, for power, for keeping a civilization in check. And I don't, you almost can't blame them too much. You want to keep people from murdering, and adultery is very problematic for a society. Very problematic things. Thievery, it's all pretty bad stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to tell people that they're going to burn in hell for eternity if they do it. And it's just group psychology. It's just social psychology. It's not a God damning or celebrating you for if you follow this set of rules. If you're gonna, I think the closest you can get to seeing God in this world is looking at nature as a whole. Does nature have a set of guidelines? Does nature have right angles and straight lines? No. It's a beautiful, nature is a beautiful balance of order and chaos. And the Taoists understood this. The yin and yang, and I've lost my yin yang bracelet, but
Sorry about that.
Yeah, just gotta get a new one. Maybe make it. But the yin yang symbol, where it's dark and the light, the yin and the yang. Yin, I think, is the dark, and yang.
Sure.
Positive, negative energy, and it taps into. You see it basically. You see this world, and this world is a dance between order and chaos, positive and negative. That we swing on a pendulum of good and bad, and that we shouldn't try to, like an ascetic guru or like an ascetic Buddhist or like a monk, we shouldn't do what they might sometimes try to do, which is just strive to be in the constant higher positive state, and that takes, because then you take away all the beauty of your life. You become abstinent, so you don't have romantic relationships. You don't eat certain foods. You restrict yourself from the pleasures of life. You lose the beauty of life, and you tunnel vision, focus yourself on basically idol worship of higher means on this narrow path, instead of exploring and experiencing the world with true faith.
What do you think true faith is like?
Not being
Looks like.
afraid of doing something wrong and being able to get up. If God truly loves you, and if you truly have this faith in a higher power, you should be free to explore the world, and you shouldn't be afraid. You should do what's right, but you shouldn't be afraid of what you might do, because then that means you don't have faith in yourself. You don't have faith in your God. Following that narrow path that they say, and a lot of Christians say that narrow path. It's just like, yeah, because you're afraid of stepping off the path and finding things out, which is what we're built to do. And maybe if we weren't primates, maybe if we didn't come physically in flesh, if we didn't come from curious primates that do all sorts of crazy, maybe if we came from, I don't know, snails or cats or spiders, maybe we wouldn't be this curious, and we'd be more comfortable with a narrow path. Or ants, maybe if the sapient species here were ants or something. But no, it's simians for a reason. And you look at us, and you look at our ape cousins with chimps and macaque monkeys and all that, and it's in our nature to not follow a narrow path. We explore, we fuck around, and we find out. And I love fucking around and finding out. And I've never hated myself because of it. I've only hated myself when I forced myself to go to a church and try and believe in something that my gut was telling me was wrong. Whenever I've tried to do that. Always loved myself when I followed what felt right to me.
You said that certain staying on the path is wrong. like you called some certain things wrong. You said that certain religions will, or like governments can give you the id, right? Or sorry, the super ego of like the correct, the things to follow, but they're typically wrong, right?
They can be. They can also be right. Like I'm not hating on it. I'm not going to be like a Satanist who inspire. You know, Satanism, right? Where they're like they made like their 7 sins that they follow or something like that. There's seven satanic commandments or something. Not the sins, but 7. And it's like, oh, it's just in spite of Christianity. You're just another religion trying to tell people what to do.
So like you're saying the same thing, we just on the other side.
Yeah, those like Satanism dudes. It's like you're like a Christian. You're like the most Christian. Huh. You're like the most God-fearing because you're just so stressed about it, and you don't even know that you're just making another social guidelines religion, Abrahamic sort of thing. And I think people need to check out more Taoist stuff. And a criticism of the Taoist and the Buddhist and some Hinduist stuff, but not really. They're pretty, Hindus can be pretty convicted. You should read the Bhagavad Gita. But they say that then you have nothing to fight for. If everything's duality and you go with the flow and you almost don't believe in right or wrong, then you would be okay with rape. You would be okay with terrible things, and you wouldn't stand up for what's right. You don't have a fight. And it just sounds like that because I watched a video where this poor kid, he used to be Christian, I guess he is again now through peer pressure, but he did this video. He was on it was on like a Q&A with some old pastor dude, and he was like talking to him, just explaining to him some Taoist stuff. And then the old dude retorted with like, so you have nothing, so there's no right or wrong, and the kid kind of folded a bit, and it's just a shame because your right or wrong, I'm not saying that there isn't a right or wrong, but your perceptions of right and wrong is founded off of your own insecurity. It's still coming from the same scientific grounds. It's fleshly, and do you want to just be fleshly in this life? Because I do believe in a certain meaning of life, and it's not pursuit of happiness, but it's to be able to get it, to be able to self-actualize and make an impact on this world that brings it a little bit better out of that chaotic, fleshly, bestial mess that we're constantly in. You can show true beauty in art, and even if you're not going to be an artist, you can make a beautiful family that carries it on.
Yeah. So where would you say you get your source of morality? Like what is right or wrong? Where would you say you are able to get that from? If it's not supposed to be from our from
parents. My parents, and I don't know, it might be a little woo-woo, but I've always felt like I used to say, oh, it was God, but like spirits. I feel like I've had more than just me in my head alone. I feel like I'm connected to something out of this world that has stock and knows something that I don't, and they're watching me. That's been a thing. I feel like I've always been watched, and they're watching me for how I do, kind of thing. Maybe it's ancestors, because a part of my spirituality is a lot of ancestors are watching you, sort of thing. Because what I mostly, if I had a religion, just for the love and passion of religion, and for the fun of it, then I would say it's this is just one symbol, but it's a lot like Hinduism. It's going to be Germanic paganism. You could say Osutru, Othelism, and then the Celtic side of it too. It's a beautiful thing because they were in ancient times a very beautiful people, and I just respect it. And there's a lot of ancestor worship, so that's like if I were to have one religion, I guess, yeah, it's like that. Okay.
And do you think like this standard of morality everyone is subject to, or is it like dependent per person, like is different? Because like whatever people tell, like whatever, if everyone does have like spirits telling them, for example, do you think everyone's getting the same standard, or is it like different for different people?
Well, I think morality has a measurable, well, you could say that this isn't measurable yet. It can be measured in positive and negative frequencies and vibrations and energy. I believe that this entire material world was created off of the fabric of vibration, sound, and that it was spoken. I like that it was spoken into existence. I believe that the sound and vibration is a fundamental piece that created everything.
Okay.
And that there is positive and negative, and a lot of bad things, right, are very negative vibration. And it's like a very new age sort of term. I don't care.
Okay.
It's very well. Yeah. It's very well attributed. You can find it a lot, but a lot of bad things and like murder, rape, theft, and all that. It's negative vibration. Negative vibration stuff. It's you look at water particles, and there was a Japanese scientist, forget his name, M something. There's M's in it, but he had, what was his book called? I have it. Anyway, it's almost like water particles had emotion, because he would get bottles of water and he would write hateful words on a label on the bottle and put it on the bottle, and then freeze the water and look at the particle, and the water particle was destroyed. It was up, it was destroyed, scattered. And then he would write positive things, like love or something about God, and like positive words. And then he would freeze it, do the same process, and look at it, and it was this beautiful structured water particle. And that shows you like, that's an example of, and I recommend looking into that. Spirits in water. I don't know. Not spirits in water. But
Okay. It sounds pretty interesting.
yeah. This Japanese scientist, water particles, emotion, or something like that.
Okay.
Positive, negative words, and the negative stuff would destroy it and cause chaos. And it goes to the morality would be to maintain and respect order, while respecting morality is a troubling thing, because you learn what the beauty in chaos. Let's say you learn that beauty in chaos creates life. Order could be bad. It's just morality. Bad morality is if you're off balance, and a good life is if you're in balance. And balance, you see that with everything. Everything is good when it's balanced. Diet, not falling over, balancing something.
Okay.
It all works, and you see that God shows you that, right? Shows you that in real life, that balance is the way. And a lot of Hinduists and Taoists and Buddhists and a lot of religions just seem to understand that when there isn't this ulterior motive involved, in which there was involved in Europe during the advent of the Roman Catholic adoption of Christianity. Because Christianity, I feel like, is very much a construct. What we know of it today is a construct of Rome. Rome, which was a corporate empire that wanted nothing more than greed, and it was really up, really up place. Rome was really bad, and they have these ulterior material motives, and so they're going to be unbalanced, and they're going to use simple thought processes that just go pure ascetic with it, and that's what's good. Which I've said that about the monks and stuff, how that can be bad.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've personally never experienced any of these frequencies or anything. How would I be able to tell what is good or bad? How could I tell?
Yeah, it takes some inner. It takes inner work. It does. It does. And I'm someone in peculiar where I am personally when I was a kid, I didn't really watch all the TV shows people did or do all the sports and stuff. I did a lot of thinking as a kid. I did a lot of also talking to myself out loud and talking and thinking about stuff. And I've always been super fascinated with spirits, spirituality, theology, and all that. And so I've done a lot. I've had a lot of time just specialized into that interest. But it takes time to think about it. to look into Hinduism, look into Taoism, listen to Alan Watts. Yeah, he was a philosopher, a British philosopher, who brought all he really did was he brought Eastern philosophy to the West and explained it in a way that we can understand. And people are like, whoa, he's amazing. That's all he did. That's what he did, is he did that. And explained it really, really well. And that's kind of a shortcut. Just listening to the hymns is pretty good.
Okay.
When you want to understand that Eastern stuff. And it's just like, it's fearless. Because so much of what Christianity justifies is out of fear of evil and out of trying to put on the armor of God and protect yourself as if you needed it in the first place. When maybe you should feel what you're feeling dreadful of, and maybe you should write it out because in my belief is that we are God. We feel that as if it's something external from us, but we created it. It is a part of us. Everything is connected to us and is a part of us at the same time. My consciousness connects to that guy, whatever he's doing, having a good day possibly. It's connected, and you can feel his energy, and you can feel my energy, and I can feel your energy, and it's like very calm and very. You're cool. You're cool.
Oh, thank you, man.
Yeah, you're very into really objectively listening, and you're just fucking chilling here, man, with it. You're not like shocked or anything like that. You're really sitting in it well.
Thank you, Israel.
For sure. What was your name?
Mikey.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, man.
Mikey. There, I got it.
I'm curious, where could I find your music?
My music? Oh, not yet, man. I'm
not out.
Almost. Yeah.
Not out. What?
I just went to the music room to try and look for band advertisements, but for me, it's vocals, so you're not going to find many people looking for a vocalist.
Okay.
Yeah,
Maybe any social media that you could link it to if people are interested?
Oh, I've got it. Yeah, I've got an Insta that I'm using for like my art and stuff. And
Sweet.
Because what I'm doing right now is I'm writing a lot, and I got a lot of poetry. So I've got poetry on there, and I'll start doing that more, and eventually do more music. I'm just doing more stuff on it. Yeah, it's my name, 3 parts of my name basically. Yeah.
How would I?
Oh, Sig_Israel and an _Ward. It's just my name.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, just the nickname, and then my first name and my last name with underscores in between it.
Sweet.
But yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's a pretty interesting point of view. I don't think I've ever heard someone with that view on reality. Yeah. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I feel like it's like actually getting it because I feel like so much of what, like I said, in Christianity and stuff, it's out of fear that like, oh, I should believe this because that helps me. That's obviously you might as well equate that with like, oh, I should put a roof over my house. It's super physical. It's like, yeah, put a roof over my house. It's like that's not up and out there. It's not. It's like that's bound in reality, Like,
what would you say are like your biggest critiques of Christianity? You seem to have like some strong opinions on it.
That, like how it's been twisted, the horrible things that people have done in the name of it in history. Same with Islam too.
Like what?
Military conquest, erasing a spirituality that was once in Europe that I believe was very enlightened and very close to what's in the East. And we only call Eastern philosophy because it didn't, like it nearly did by Islam, but it didn't get marred and broken down by this almost corporate religion as Christianity and Islam with its military conquests. It's missionaries who have a quota.
I see.
Yeah.
And what about like modern critiques? Because there's not much.
Modern critiques is that we are in a point in time now where this is the time to let it go. I just directly quoted a lyric from my favorite bands.
Okay.
That's an inspiration and is very much. That band's the reason why I started listening to Alan Watts.
What's the band?
Nothing More. Yo.
Recommend it?
I do recommend it.
Okay.
Bro. Yo. The 2014 debut album will debut for their new with the vocalist who's once the drummer. It's their title album, so the album name is Nothing More.
Okay.
And then the Stories We Tell Ourselves album is really good too. And it's got that song Go to War, which got kind of popular. I don't know what you had in mind. Here we stand on opposing sides. Let's go to war, let's go to war. it was all over TikTok before.
Oh, really?
So,
Okay.
yeah, your viewers will yeah.
Probably heard of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the Spirits album, and then the new one, Carnal. It's all great stuff. But yeah. All right, I'm going to check on my buddies and stuff.
Sweet,
But
dude.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, my God. Good to see you again.
I'm curious. I didn't see you pass by yesterday. Where were you at?
You were sitting over there.
Yeah.
And I walked in, and I saw you doing your thing. I was like, camera.
Okay.
That is cool. Yeah, man. Yeah, I hope that was good because, dude, this is my. Man.
Yeah.
Like this. Yeah.
You're pretty well versed in this.
What do you think? Yeah, I spent a lot of time thinking about it. Yeah. And I think just this is the time for us to be able to let go of those fearful guidelines, because we are, and you see it with like the LGBTQ thing being a thing now, and a lot of very different stuff, and people are very fearful of it. People are like, they get so much of the arguments against it is like protecting, they justify it by like protecting their children. So you see that we're kind of advancing in a way, and it's a fearful response, a conservative response to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought of an analogy of liberalism and conservatives, where imagine that you are out in the wild and you're traveling on a path and you're like starving, and are you going to be conservative about how you do this, or are you going to be liberal about how you do this? You're going to be conservative and conserve as much body heat as you got, conserve as much as you have, and do what you know works despite what it might cause negatively. Mm-hmm. That's the root of conservatism, is being in a desperate place, in a bad, like being in the Wild West or being in the Dark Ages, where we had to do that stuff. Huh. But now we have an abundance through technology and science and discovering and becoming more like God in a way, and figuring things out. Now we're in a place where there is more of a time for like liberalism. So it's just...
I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, that puts it in a more logical, rational way, not these emotional arguments, one of the other. You know, I'm never picking a side.
Yeah?
Ever.
Ever.
That's so stupid. The political square is fake. Super fake.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, man, it's all huge societal constructs, and we're in a period of time right now where the entire conception of reality is changing. The world is completely changing. If you look at how crazy it is right now, it's like,
come over here.
We're blindsided because we've never experienced life like this before. So of course we're gonna be freaking out. And we spent all of human history in a conservative, traditional values mindset, and those are some great things, you know. But they're also not. They're also not good for our growth if we keep holding on to it and hating on any sort of difference, because you can't ignore the multitude of the universe in chaos forever. If we created it, if we're God and we made it, we can't just let ourselves die out in conservatism. Like a seed expands. A seed grows and expands. It doesn't sit in itself. It doesn't follow this narrow path. So, yeah. And so I think this is the time for us to let go of the old religions and start to be more syncretist, which is what I call myself, as a syncretist. If you know what that means.
No, I don't.
You gather, you listen and study all the fucking religions and spirituality and find what makes sense and what's right in them, work through them like a scientist and figure out what's right. And we have the internet now. Like, this is literally, obviously, the time to do that. We have all the information to study.
Right.
That's what I'm doing.
Oh,
That's what people should do. And I want to be able to influence that mentality in people, let them know that it's okay. Because we're in a certain time where we have to expand our knowledge. Yeah. I'll write it. But yeah, that's all I got. Yeah, that's all I got.
Dude, thank
you.
you. I really appreciate you, man. Okay.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
You too.
Israel?
Oh, yes.
Nice meeting you too.
Yeah, have a good one. Hope you get some other people to check it out. People were looking.
Maybe. I think I got to head out soon, so
Yeah.
that'll be it. But
Another time, keep it consistent.
will do. Okay.
Maybe I'll bring some of my friends over to try it out.
I plan to be here tomorrow, so around the same time. So take care. Wow, that was pretty good. Dang, dude. Okay, that's awesome. I was not expecting actually people to come up and just like, that was like what I was hoping for, was just like people just to like speak. Not, I'd love for people to not stay on the same topic. So that was awesome. Yeah, episode 2, going great. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see where the Lord has this for the future. I'm gonna come back tomorrow, and that's gonna be the end of the American River College arc, probably, because the semester will be over. Dude, praise God, that's awesome. Super cool. Wow, I was a bit discouraged yesterday. I just drove home and like nothing seems to really be like, I don't know if I should be doing this anymore, like just like discouraged. And then I drove in, I'm like, a white dove is just eating with a chicken. So I just snap a picture. And later on, right when I'm going to sleep, I'm like, wait, white doves, aren't they like symbolic or something? So I look it up, and it's like, it's Noah's Ark. It's a symbol of a new beginning and God's faithfulness and hope. And I was like, what? Like, that's a sign from God. Like, that was insane. And like, just to keep going. So, dude, episode 2 is over. So much better than I ever expected. Like and subscribe, guys. Leave a comment of any thoughts, any suggestions for subjects you'd like to see. Praise God. Yeah, praise God. See you guys. In certain instances, that the act of stealing it's not as bad depending on different people, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, kind of, yeah.